Hey guys, so today we are working in our function note packet again. We're going to start by going over your homework from yesterday, and then we're going to continue to do some practice problems together. As we go through class, make sure that you're taking notes with me and that you're jotting down anything you might have a question on that you want to ask about. Don't forget that extra help is tomorrow after your 8th to 9th grade transition meeting course, and I will see you guys hopefully in it and then. So let's turn to page 4 so we can go over your homework. So your job last night was to try number 5 and 6. The directions say, determine whether each graph is the graph of a function. So basically we want to know does this graph represent a function? So when we look back at our notes, we can see that representing a function and checking whether or not there's a function, we use something called the vertical line test. So we can use that now to see if these are functions. So as I go make vertical lines through this function here, I pass through twice as I make my vertical line. So this is not a function. It does not pass the vertical line test. Okay, let's try it again for number 6. So we'll start making our vertical lines, and as we go through, we're only passing through once. So this is a function. It passes the vertical line test. Alrighty, so we're going to keep doing practice problems like this. We're going to take a look at, remember, we can look at ordered pairs, tables, mapping diagrams, equations, and verbal relationships, okay? So let's go up here and look at number 1. It says, find the domain and range for the following relation. So if you remember yesterday, we talked about the domain being the x values and the range being the y values. So the domain is going to be the x values, which are represented by the x values in each coordinate. So -3, -1, 0, 2, and 4. And again, we want to list those in order because we're mathematicians and we like order. And we use those curly brackets again, or as they called them in the first lesson, braces. Okay, so then our range will be our list of y values. So we'll have -7, -3, -1, 3, 7. Oh, that worked out nicely that they were already in the order that we needed them to be in. So that being said, since in these ordered pairs we had no x value repeat, no input repeated, then it is a function because every input had only one output. So let's determine whether each of these relationships is a function. So let's look at number 2. In the curly brackets, we again have ordered pairs listed. We have a -4 for our input, a -2, a 0, and a 1. Are there any inputs being repeated? No. So therefore, every input has only one output. Every input has only one output. Now we're going to use that fancy therefore. Therefore, this is a function. Okay, so your job now is to try it for number 2 and number 3. And when you're done, we will go over the answers. Okay, so pause the video now, try 3 and 4, and then I think I said 2 and 3. Try 3 and 4, and then we'll go over them when you're ready. Okay, so for number 3, we have 0, 1, 4, and 1 as our inputs. So again, I want to be looking for an input that repeats, and this input of 1 repeats. And it has 2 different outputs. It has an output of 1 and an output of -1. This is not a function. the input of one has two different outputs. Okay, hopefully you got that one right. Number 4, again, these are my inputs, my X's. I want to be looking for the output. So 3 outputs -2. 1 outputs 0. 0 outputs -1 and 0. So 0 has too many outputs. So again, not a function. The input of 0 has 2 different outputs. Okay. When you're ready and you have that all fixed up on your paper, let's turn to page 5. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try out number 3. We're going to be looking for the table that does not represent a function. So we want the one that does not represent a function. So I'm going to choose a random number. We'll go through that one and see whether or not it's a function. Okay. How about we start with D? We'll go backwards. So here are the inputs. Okay. We have -10, -5, 0, 5, 10. Does any input repeat? No. And does every input have a different output? I'm sorry, does every input have one output? Doesn't matter if they're all 5. They all have one output. So that's important. Each input has only one output. Okay? So this is a function. And we're looking for the one that's not a function. Go ahead and pause the video, find your not a function, and hit play again and see what you come up with. Okay, so looking at letter C, again, no input repeated. Letter B, no input repeated. Letter A, the input of 8 repeated, and it has 2 different outputs. So therefore, letter A is the correct answer. Letter A represents the relationship that is not a function. Okay, let's try number 2. Which set of ordered pairs represents a function? Again, we're looking at inputs first. So remember, your inputs in your ordered pairs are your X's. So we're looking here, -2, 0, 1, 3. Okay, -1, -2, -2, -3. So see if you can figure out which one represents a function. Pause the video, play when you're ready to go over it. Okay, looking at what I've already highlighted, I'm going to continue through. So I have 12, 9, -6, 9, 3, -2, 1, 3. So looking at each set, let's see letter D. I have a repeater here, 3 and 3. So this is not a function. We're looking for the one that is a function. 9 and 9 repeat here, so that's not a function. No, it wasn't -3 repeating, it was -2. That's not a function. So letter A was our function because every input had only one output. We're going to skip the range here. We're going to move on to the next page. Okay, taking a look at page 6. Okay. Which graph does not represent a function? So again, we're looking at graphs here. You're going to want to test with a vertical line test. Go ahead and see if you can find your answer, and then pause the video, play the video when you're ready to go over it. Okay, so I'm actually going to use my blue highlighter to highlight the functions. This one's a straight line here. This one's a parabola. This one is the one that changes course piecewise, and this one is a snake. Just kidding. All right, so as we go through, we're going to draw those vertical lines and see which one does not pass the vertical line test. So coming straight down, this one definitely passes. Coming straight down, this one definitely passes. Coming straight down, this one passes. A little bit tough. My marker is donezo. Coming straight down, this one crosses 1, 2, 3 times. We don't want that. So this one is the one that fails the vertical line test and is not a function. Okay, hope you did a good job with that one. Okay, for this one, I want you to make a mapping diagram. So our x's will go here because that's our domain. Our y's will go here for our range. So let's line them up now. Again, keeping order, least to greatest from what you see. So you might have to unscramble a little bit. Okay, for our range, we have some repeaters and the order is not perfect. So we'll go -6, -3, 0, 3. Remember that the mapping diagram just maps the input to its output. So -5 goes to -3. -3 as the input goes to -6. -1 goes to 0. 0 goes to -3. 1 goes to 3. So what you really want to be looking at is the inputs. Does any input that is listed have 2 outputs, have 2 lines going out of it? No, nobody does. So is it a function? Yes, we could probably have seen that from the table too. There were no repeating inputs. So this relation is a function because every input, we use our classic line, every input has only one output. Classic line, every input has only one output. Memorize it, write it down. Okay, that's it for class today. Your homework tonight is back work, okay? Tomorrow you will be doing a Jamboard for your asynchronous work, which happens to be page 3. So why don't we take a look at, really quick, a couple examples on page 3 just to get you started, okay? I've taken the jam and I've just chunked it up. Okay, and again, you could do your work here and then input it into the jam. So number 1 through 5, we're looking at mapping diagrams for 1 through 3. 4 and 5, you're looking at tables. 6 through 9, you're looking at ordered pairs. And then 10 through 15, you're looking at graphs. And remember, we look at them in different ways, but they're kind of always asking the same thing. Is it a function? Determine whether each example is a function or not a function. So number 1, we have a mapping diagram. We go from 1 to 5, 2 to 10, 3 to 15. Does any input have 2 lines coming out of it? Nope. So it's a function. So down here in the riddle for number 1, whenever I see a 1, I'm going to put an L. Okay. Similar to the tables, right? We look at the table, we look at the inputs. Does any input repeat? Oh yeah, 5 repeats and it has 2 different outputs. So therefore it is not a function. Every input can only have 1 output. So for number 4, I'm going to go down to the bottom and put an E. Oh, it's all the way over here. For your coordinates, again, looking at your X values, your inputs, does any X value repeat there? Yeah, the 2 repeated. And we have a 6 and a 7 as the outputs, so it's not a function. So for number 6, I'm going to put an H. Again, I'm giving you one example, and you just do the others based on that example. And then for the graphs, I hope we are getting better at using the vertical line test. Does that pass the vertical line test? Absolutely. So it's a function. So for number 10, I put a T, which is over here. That's a crazy T. There's a T. All right. So your job is to finish it on your Jamboard. You can do it here, transfer it over to your Jamboard. I will see you guys in class on Thursday. Remember, extra help is on right after your 8th to 9th grade course transition. Okay, bye.